Hello again, everybody. Ben Joravsky here. We're calling this Political Theater Thursday, and here's why. Laurie Glenn standing by. Laurie Glenn standing by. She was all fired up, ladies and gentlemen, when I talked to her earlier this morning. I said, Laurie, stop. Let's just hang up. Let's not have any more conversation. I don't want you to waste any of this fire, this passion, these thoughts on a pre-show planning stuff. And while I hung up, she was still orating. I go, save it. Anyway, I'm just going to bait her a little bit before I bring her on. The great political strategist, Laurie Glenn. Wow. Political theater. So in the course of planning today's conversation, there have been two things that Donald Trump has done that are just pure political theater. And yet you have to take them seriously. I know it sounds weird because political theory suggests, oh, it's just some frivolous nothing that he's doing to dominate the headlines and then we move on. But once Donald Trump puts something out there, you have to treat it seriously because, to remind you, he's the president of the United States. So one piece of bizarre political theater has to do with his proposal that he offered up, Tuesday's press conference with Netanyahu of Israel. Where he said the United States would seize control of Gaza, that all the people who live there now, all the Palestinians who live there now, all the Palestinians who survived the onslaught over the last year will then be moved to adjoining states, adjoining countries, Egypt and Jordan at the top of the list, regardless of what people in Egypt and Jordan have to say about it, regardless of what people in Palestine have to say about it. They're going to be moved there, and the land will be taken over by the United States and developed into some kind of high-price resort, like the Riviera. Think Riviera. And then Netanyahu, this totally like dovetails with like the extreme right view of what should be done in the Middle East, in Israel. It's like, whoa, what a brilliant man. He says things that nobody else dares to say, and he thinks them into action. And it's like, you guys are both utterly insane. And meanwhile, the paper's dominated with articles because you have to take serious what the president of the United States says. There's articles of reaction from Saudi Arabia. There's articles of reaction from Egypt. There's articles of reaction from Gaza. There's articles of reaction from Republicans and Democrats in the United States. And then there's like this sort of pullback from the White House as they try to figure out, did he just say we're going to commit American troops to Gaza? Did he just say that? And they're, well, no, then they start, I've been watching Trump press aides always try to figure out a way to step back from the reality of what Trump said while remaining true to the insanity of what he said and then counterattacking against anyone who disagrees with him. I've been watching them do this now since 2015, so I'm pretty used to it. And so, but in the end, they ended up attacking Democrats. And then Trump followed up with this piece of, I don't, you tell me what this is, ladies and gentlemen. I am now going to read Donald Trump's, I don't know what you call it. I hate to call it a truth because that's what he calls it. God, we're all suckers. He controls our little universe. Tweet, whatever it is, a statement he put out. I am now reading this. Comes from Donald Trump. The Gaza Strip would be turned over to the United States by Israel at the conclusion of fighting. The Palestinians, people like Chuck Schumer, would have already been resettled in far safer and more beautiful communities with new and modern homes in that region. They would actually have a chance to be happy, safe, and free. The U.S., working with great development teams from all over the world, would slowly and carefully begin the construction of what will become one of the greatest and most spectacular developments of its kind on Earth. No soldiers by the U.S. would be needed. Stability in the region would reign. That no soldiers comment was, he had to throw that out. Yeah, no soldiers. This is just fantasy, ladies and gentlemen. This is just insane fantasy. And then the Chuck Schumer comment. Now, I know my listeners know who Chuck Schumer is, just in case there's one person out there. Chuck Schumer is the Democratic senator from New York. He is the Democratic leader of the Senate. I'm sure Laurie Glenn's going to have a few things to say about him and the other Democratic senators in a little while. She's just warming up, ladies and gentlemen. But he's baiting Chuck Schumer. Chuck Schumer is Jewish, and Chuck Schumer is not a Palestinian. by any means, but essentially Donald Trump is saying that anyone who disagrees with me is Hamas. And it's Democrats have no idea what to do on this issue. Their party is so divided over this issue. We watched the division in play over the last election in so many ways. And I just think, wow. In some ways, it's like, bravo, Trump. If I just distance myself from the utter insanity, the hate, and everything else that's baked into this, I'm like, bravo. You have successfully inflamed everybody in the area to the advantage of your ally, Netanyahu. You've diverted attention from what you're doing in the United States right now with the ongoing coup, where your ally, Elon Musk, is taking control of the federal payroll, basically, or the computers that control the federal payroll. And you've put Democrats on the defensive and poked at the wedge in their party, all in one tweet or whatever they call it. And we can't even call it a tweet without giving you, we have to call it a truth, which just gives you credit. You see, you're making money off the whole thing. Unbelievable. It's political theater. And the other news is that he's suing the state of Illinois, by the way, don't forget that, and the city of Chicago, because they're not enforcing his utterly insane deportation rules, which are, you could argue what's more insane, his proposal for Gaza or his notion that he's going to deport tens of millions of people from the United States, which, by the way, obviously he's not going to do either one. But like I said, it's great political theater that diverts attention from what he's really doing, which is seizing complete control of the United States and turning it over to his cronies and himself.